Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Rosalind Junk. I'm with United Way Simcoe Muskoka, and we are the community entity for Reaching Home, Rural and Remote in Ontario. Really delighted to be here today to host the third Rural and Remote Homelessness session at the Alliance Conference. Today, we will be looking at the Counts and Emergency Services Toolkits from RDN, which is the Rural Development Network. Before I get into the details of introducing our hosts, I'd like to share a land acknowledgement statement from Simcoe Muskoka, which is the area where we hang our hat. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that we're meeting on Indigenous land. As settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet, and we thank all generations of Indigenous peoples who've taken care of this land. Land acknowledgements are about our connection to the land. Indigenous peoples are caretakers of the land. Historically, when communities would come together to a particular area, visitors would acknowledge the inhabitants or keepers of the land. It was meant to show respect. Today, in Simcoe County, we acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe people. That includes the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. In Muskoka, we acknowledge that the District of Muskoka sits on land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Wattamohawk. As settlers, this recognition of the contributions and historical importance of Indigenous peoples must be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities. So thank you again. Now I am pleased to introduce our speakers. A reminder, if you've got any questions at all, please post those in the Q&A, and we will take care of those at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Scott Travis. He is with RDN, and he is their Director of Research and Rural Development at the Rural Development Network. Scott's completing his graduate studies in neuroscience and has been working with patient populations for over 10 years. He's been leading some really innovative and integral methods of data gathering and works in partnership with certainly their local community groups to help lead individual projects while working to build ongoing capacity to continue future projects. Scott will be joined today by Linda Bernicki and Sydney Stenikis, who are colleagues of his from RDN. Linda is a project consultant in the areas of homelessness initiatives, Indigenous engagement, and community development. She has diplomas in child, youth, and family counseling, NGO management, as well as community development. She as well has some certifications in the economics of social change, anti-racism, and conflict resolution. She's been leading community change and developing coordinated community responses in the area of homelessness, the housing spectrum, poverty reduction, as well as domestic violence and Indigenous engagement for well over 20 years. She has extensive experience in the municipal government world and working with understanding vulnerable populations. That lived experience is so key. This has allowed Linda the opportunity to manage several complex projects in response to diverse social issues, resulting in positive outcomes for those rural communities she's been working in. Sydney is their manager of homelessness initiatives, and she coordinates and administers funding for Reaching Home, Rural and Remote, the funding stream in Alberta. Sydney grew up in Hamilton and earned her Bachelor of Social Science, specializing in international economics and development at the University of Ottawa. She's currently completing her MSc at the University of Alberta, engaged in a collaborative research project with the Cudachi First Nation, highlighting the importance of traditional ecological knowledge and understanding environmental change. Sydney's research interests encompass not only social, but also environmental and economic policy in the areas of community well-being and natural resource management. She draws on her previous experience with the federal government and community-based research to help advocate and build strong relationships with rural communities in Alberta. So we look forward to hearing from this team today about the Counts and Emergency Services Toolkit that they developed at RDN. A reminder to post any questions in the Q&A. we look forward to their presentations, and thanks again for joining us.